This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. Hobart's Lord Mayor remains in office tonight after rejecting calls from fellow aldermen and Tasmania's peak business body to resign from his position. Ron Christie today offered a short statement to the media advising he stands by his comments about curbing Hobart's visitor numbers and his criticisms against the Dark Mofo Festival.
Hobart's Lord Mayor today fronting the cameras following calls for his resignation.
I will not be resigning as Mayor of Hobart and will proudly lead this council to the next election.
Mr Christie's facing heavy criticisms over his comments about Mona's Dark Mofo, including that it's too controversial and that the Hobart City Council would review its funding, despite that not being the opinion of all the council's aldermen.
Hobart, and especially Tasmania in winter, is now a vibrant place to be. We need to continue to build on that, and we don't want to be throwing it back in people like David Walsh's face and saying we don't want you to do festivals like Dark Mofo. That is a ridiculous thing for us to do.
I have not backed down or stepped away from the personal comments I've made about the Dark Mofo Festival or the future of our city.
He's also taken aim at the state of Hobart's tourism industry, saying visitor numbers need to be curbed.
Quite clearly, the last thing we want is for mainlanders and people from around the world to be thinking that we're not welcoming of tourists.
Industry leaders fighting back, labelling the comments as embarrassing on a national scale.
We've got to actually seize this momentum and seize this positivity and the fact that people want to come here and empty their wallets while they're down here.
But despite calls to revoke them, the Lord Mayor's not giving in, claiming he has broad community support.
I'd like to thank those hundreds of people who have emailed and phoned me with support. Like me, they love this city, they love Tasmania. They want to preserve its unique history and also its beauty.
Mr Christie wasn't taking any questions this afternoon.
Support. Thank you.
Can you please elaborate?
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Wildlife groups are calling for those charged with animal cruelty to be slapped with tougher sentences. It comes after a Burnie man who killed 6 penguins was sentenced to community service and given an $80 fine.
In 2016, Joshua Lee Jeffrey killed 6 penguins at Sulphur Creek in the state's northwest. Yesterday, he fronted the Burnie Magistrates Court, where he was given an $82 fine and ordered to complete 49 hours of community service. Wildlife groups are outraged at what they say is a slap-on-the-wrist sentence.
Response from BirdLife Tasmania is one of absolute shock. The sentence is so lenient, there's no deterrence whatsoever.
The message that this sends to the community is that there aren't going to be any major repercussions for what you do. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, people would get in more trouble from their parents for taking a chocolate out of the chocolate jar, it's just utterly ridiculous. I think at the end of the day we have to set a major example with these people.
Reaction in the nearby town of Penguin was similar.
It's ridiculous. Should have got a lot more than that. It's disgusting, can't believe it.
Disgusted it was so light. It's a small community of the penguins and they need to be looked after.
Tasmania's Law Society says it's not so simple, and culprits already face maximum penalties of 5 years jail time and $31,000 fines.
Tasmania has some of the toughest, if not the equal toughest, animal welfare legislation in the country. So the only place where the penalties are higher are Western Australia.
Age and mental health are also key factors in sentencing.
The courts don't think about the reaction within the community when deciding cases, and we wouldn't want them to. We want courts to decide cases on facts and evidence and precedent and the law.
Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
The Cascade Brewery has today announced it won't allow the Mt Wellington cable car company to use or buy any part of its land for its proposed development. It says the decision follows significant community consultation and it's determined the proposal does not have community support.
A momentous decision. Carlton and United Breweries today announcing it's hands off their land.
undoubtedly a cable car will have changed the nature of the mountain, and we thought as a company that that was not our responsibility or business to be making a decision on behalf of the people of Tasmania.
The owners of Cascade Brewery claiming it isn't satisfied the proposal has community support and won't allow Mt Wellington Cable Car Company to lease or buy its land for the project.
At the end of the day, we're a brewing company, and that's what we're entirely focused on, not running cable cars or being involved in a cable car operation.
Residents opposed to the development welcoming the decision, saying a rally attended by thousands last month proved the intense opposition from the community, but saying they still have a fight on their hands.
I don't think the MWCC will give up. I can assure you that we've got a good fighting fund now after our massive rally. We've got lawyers, we've got planners, we're setting up for a long fight.
The cable car company wouldn't speak on camera today, issuing a statement saying it's been looking into other options for a base terminal location since February, and it's unfazed by the brewery's rejection.
It's not a decision that blocks the Mt Wellington Cableway Company, but they won't be able to use Cascade land for their cable car.
We don't want this project, and CUB, to their credit, have listened to that, unlike other people.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The Treasurer has revealed he did not consult with Tasmania's chief gaming regulator over controversial poker machine policy. The announcement coming on the second day of budget estimates hearings, drawing audible gasps from opposition parties.
The Treasurer's spending scrutinised. Poker machine policy first up for debate. The Treasurer revealing the Tasmanian Liquor and Gaming Commission was not consulted on controversial pro-pokies policy ahead of the state election.
I don't think it would be appropriate to ask them to pass comment on our gaming policy.
Not appropriate to seek expert opinion.
The Greens then asking if the Treasurer's office was involved in any negotiations to triple the Tasmanian Hospitality Association's funding.
It is not good enough to sit here and say, I don't believe they did. Did they or didn't they?
I don't believe they did.
The group a big supporter of the government's pokies policy throughout the election. Then quizzed on GST, the Treasurer repeating that the Prime Minister had verbally assured him Tasmania would not miss out when funding arrangements change. Labor not so trusting.
What are you holding him to? Because you don't even know what the dollar and the cents figure is.
I have formed the view from my discussions with the Federal Treasurer and in line with the Prime Minister's guarantee that our revenues will be secure. It'll be business as usual.
The sale of public assets also on the agenda. More revealed about the sale of one of Hobart's historic buildings. With controversy brewing over the sale of the Treasury building, the department has today revealed that a sale will not come anytime soon and that there were still issues with the site. But the Treasurer has said that ultimately it is a decision for the government. Switching to Mr Gutwin's council portfolio, a major shake-up of the 25-year-old Local Government Act on its way. A review seeking to improve efficiency, minimising red tape and enhance transparency. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania's Royal Flying Doctor Service has sought out the help of experts to fix what it says is a concerning low rate of immunisation in the state's northwest. Experts say the conversation around immunisation needs to change to encourage more parents to vaccinate their children.
When we just tell people to do things, I think sometimes people don't like that. And so I think we need to really be supportive, non-judgmental, answer questions and help people feel good about having all the immunisations we recommend.
More than 300 people have been hospitalised in the past 3 years for vaccine-preventable influenza and pneumonia.
If we had the vaccination rates up to where we need to, a number of those people would not or should not have necessarily required hospitalisation.
Kentish Council has the lowest rates of immunisation for children under 15 months, with Devonport and Latrobe also below the average. A record number of school students have raced against their friends in today's All Schools Cross Country. To the relief of organisers and especially parents, conditions remained dry and sunny throughout the day.
Shoulder to shoulder. A stream of students crosses Symonds Plains. A few graze knees, the only slip-up in the state's biggest primary school cross-country event.
Hard, because there's lots of people.
Lots of people indeed, a record 2,500 taking part this year. Athletics Tasmania says it has been raising the profile of cross-country running in schools across the state.
For the last 3 years in particular, we've seen the numbers increase, and certainly Athletics Tasmania have reached out to schools to encourage them to have their schools and their children involved.
Something else different about this year, the sunny weather. No mud in sight, unlike last time.
It was muddy, it almost rained, and my shoe almost fell off in the ditch.
Those who lead the stampede and finish with a good time will go in the running for a spot in the state cross-country team. The state team will compete in Queensland later this year, but for most of these runners, today is all about fun.
It's a nice experience. Yes, yeah. Nice experience, because it's our first time here.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
A group of mates has raised nearly $15,000 for cancer and Parkinson's disease from a charity fishing contest. The group ran the event named Dribble and Shake after a friend of the organisers died from prostate cancer earlier this year.
We realise that, things are pretty limited at the moment as far as that research is going, but if we can do something for the future, I think that's what it's all about.
The money was donated to the Menzies Research Institute, which says donations such as this are critical for further research. Tasmania has welcomed 2 new giant cats. The Sumatran Tigers are settling into their enclosure at Tasmania Zoo. The exhibit ready to open to the public tomorrow.
It's far from Indonesia's jungles, but this is Jalua and Sinta's new home. The 10-year-old brother and sister arrived in the state a week and a half ago. While Sinta's still a little shy, the pair will start going on the prowl in front of the public tomorrow.
Jalua's settled in, he's at home straight away. He loves his food. Sinta, on the other hand, she's a little bit more picky on who comes, like the keepers and stuff like that.
The siblings have always lived in captivity. They were born in New Zealand, moved to New South Wales. Now their home is Tasmania Zoo.
They've got a really big swimming pool as well because tigers just love the water.
It's taken 2 years to bring the animals here, and the tigers have even made history as they're the first of their kind to live in the state. The Sumatran tiger is critically endangered, and it's estimated only around 300 still live in the wild. It's hoped housing Jalua and Sinta here at Tasmania Zoo will help the population.
We'd like to educate the public. We have so many species that are, endangered, mainly due to humans, basically. So trying to educate people about what we can do to stop the extinction.
Monique Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the rest of the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Falls across the energy, resource and healthcare sectors push the Australian share market into the red amid increasing investor trade war fears. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 12.8 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.14 US cents and 107.59 New Zealand cents.
A young Tasmanian archery ace will soon find out exactly where she stands on the sports world stage when she competes against the best in the business in Germany. And for Sarah Haywood, it's a vital step along the way to a much bigger ambition. Haywood got a taste of international competition earlier in the year at the world's biggest archery event in Las Vegas.
The Vegas shoot was an amazing experience. I've never shot with that many people ever.
She held her own, finishing inside the top 20 before clinching a 10th place at the World Cup Series and a 7th at the World Indoor Championships in South Dakota.
That was amazing to come away with such a decent placing, and I didn't have any expectations for myself going into it.
The 20-year-old then backing it up, taking out the recent Australian Open event in Perth. Next month she heads to Berlin for her biggest test to date, the Archery World Cup.
Competing against people of the open age division, the ladies who have been to the Olympics, so I'll get to be on the same stage as them.
Firing 200 arrows a day in the less than ideal conditions of the Hobart Archers Club.
Oh yeah, the cold, you never get used to that, that's bad. You have a little success here and there and then you go, oh, what if I trained a bit more? So, you find a way.
And despite the conditions and lack of funding her sport receives, the sharpshooter's eyes remain fixed on the ultimate target.
All steps along the way to that dream and goal, which is the Olympics.
Good evening. Smithton, St Helens, Grove and Hobart our top today with 15 degrees, Launceston 14, Burnie and Devonport a high of 13. Lyre produced a -5 overnight, however most temperatures today were above average. Strawn, Friendly Beaches and the Islands 14, Lowhead 13, Ooze a top of 12 degrees. A few isolated showers fell over the west early, but that cloud over the west and far south didn't produce much rain this afternoon, bit over Bass Strait as well. There is a large area of low cloud over our region due to a high. A bright cloud band extends from southern WA over the southern ocean. An inland trough has the cloud over eastern Queensland, a little bit more over western New South Wales. Tomorrow the high continues its extended presence, pushing over a large region. A surface trough is over inland Queensland and a cold front touches WA. Northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots, tending variable over the north tomorrow, swells at just 2 metres. Hobart, a partly cloudy day, a top of 13 degrees, 13 also for Geeveston, an early frost for Bothwell, a top of 12. Fine and partly cloudy after early fog, Launceston 13, 13 for Devonport, early fog as well for Cressy with 11 the maximum. Burnie partly cloudy too, 13 the top, 13 for Strawn, Curry on King Island, bit of cloud, no problems and 13. And for St Helens, bit of sun about, 13 the top, 14 for Swansea, Orford mostly sunny too and 13 degrees. On Thursday, fine apart from possible showers over the north. Showers over the north on Friday before developing over the west and far south in the afternoon and everywhere else by Friday night. And on Saturday, showers contracting to the west and south. Snow possible to 800 metres. Showers in Perth. A cool sunny day in Adelaide. Partly cloudy in Melbourne and Canberra. A shower or two forecast for Sydney and Brisbane. Partly cloudy in Hobart at 7 right now, 7 and clear in Launceston, currently in Devonport 8 degrees. No rushing out to the car park to get home, Joe. We're here for the long haul tonight.
We are. I'm going to race out, put my T-shirt on and get into that telephone room. Thanks so much for your company. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll see you again soon.